A very warm welcome to you wherever it is you're joining us from. This is Enterprise Weekend on Enterprise TV. I am Henry E. Right about now, we'll be moving to our newspaper headlines to see what they have for us, and right after that will be our main conversation for today. So while we get all of this sorted out for you and just for you, please do well to visit our website at www.enterprisetvnews.com, and also do follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV 7. With me in the studios this morning to do justice to our newspaper reviews today is Barrister Evans Ufeli. He is an attorney at law and also public affairs analyst. You're welcome.
Good morning.
To Enterprise Weekend today.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much for giving us your time. So right about now, we'll be starting up with the Saturday Punch newspaper. And the big story there says 140 federal government appointees to assess ministers' performance. Assessors drawn from 35 ministries, departments, and agencies. Right below that story, we have rape sentence. Church members say popular Lagos pastor framed. The conviction will be overturned. And on the rider we have pastors reveal confirmation of devil's attack on the church, and that's coming from a female member of the church. On the downstream of the same newspaper, we have worsening economic hardship fuels youth battle with depression and suicide. And on the bottom slip of the same newspaper, we have police come Ogun Forest for abducted Lagos PDP chair as kidnappers demand 200 million naira. Barrister, let's talk about the federal government appointing 140 people to assess the performance of ministers. How legit is that? And is that going to hopefully give us a prudence in management of our resources from the ministries?
Well, it is the responsibility of the executive, that is the president, to actually assess his ministers, because in a manner of speaking, he appointed them. So if the government will succeed or fail, it is largely based on the appointees of the president. So it is therefore the responsibility of the president to set up mechanisms through which these ministers and appointees will be evaluated and graded, whether or not they are working or whatsoever it is. Okay. So it is not outside the law that you give someone a job, you must create a mechanism for evaluating them. But where I find the risk in this is that the civil servants themselves, who are expected to evaluate these ministers or appointees of government over time, we have come to understand that it is even the civil servants that assist the ministers and appointees, to desecrate the sanctity of governance by way of corruption. It is the civil servant that know how to retire the funds when it is embezzled. It is the civil servant usually that are used to get kickbacks from the contractors and all that. So this will work to the extent that those who are put in place to hunt, to hunt the appointees and the ministers are not themselves corrupt.
Because I actually wanted to ask, these appointees from the federal government, is it before the administration, is it at the time the ministers were appointed, or is it after? Because the reason I'm asking this is, let's take a case of the Beta Edu's saga. Yes. Where were these people when all of that happened? And why didn't they maybe raise a red flag to say, this is what is happening in this ministry, and not the press coming to find out themselves?
It's because there was no mechanism to check. That is why the president is bringing one in now.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But otherwise, before now, it is the EFCC and the press. Okay, and the EFCC will not act until there's a petition from someone maybe to that effect, or a whistleblower, or the press generally. The press have been the ones exposing some of this rot in government. But now, if the government is thinking in that direction, that perhaps we could use civil servants to check. It's like check and balance.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not a bad thing, except that you need to find the best crop of people, civil servants, the ones that are the puritanic among them,
They are the ones who can actually do this.
Okay.
But we have a huge deficit of that in our system because corruption is give and chop. People, you know, that's why I said this will work to the extent that
Credible people of integrity are found within the civil service. Are they there? Yes. How many are they? We don't know. How effective can they manage it?
because sometimes the ministers too will sway.
True.
The civil servants worship them. You understand? Sometimes for favor, sometimes for politics, sometimes for being, they want to be posted to a better location and all that. So let's see how it goes. If it works, fine. But I think it is good to be conscious of the fact that your appointees, ministers and all that, you know, have a tendency to, you know, destroy whatever it is they are appointed to go and oversee.
Very
They
true.
have that. Look at Betty, for example. The minister before her, the previous and the succeeding, are caught up in the same case. So it's terrible.
Well, true. So let's go to this issue of a popular pastor, because it's making a headline in news there, a sentence. And this is what, of course, it should be rated amongst the gender-based violence cases. And I would love to if you can, share with us if you've ever handled such a case, especially when it comes with a popular figure, you know, in place. What do you think went wrong? Because this is not the first time we have having this. We've had so many cases like this, and the people escaped because they were popular people.
Yes.
What do you think happened in this case that got this pastor indicted in this particular case, that he is now being jailed for life?
Yeah, what we call sexual abuse and sexual harassment is most rife in the churches and religious center. You understand? You know, rape is actually a contact between an assailant and a victim.
Oh,
Yes, they with authority. Anyone with authority, but with a huge moral deficit, have the tendency to abuse or want to take advantage of the female gender. It's very common, not just in the church, in corporate places. Okay, in even small businesses, small business owners, okay, they try to exploit their employees sexually and otherwise. Okay, so it's a case that is very, very common in our society. Okay, and in the case under reference, you see, evidence has shown or proven. That is why the court came to that conclusion. And they're talking about appeal. Okay, appeal is of right.
You know, you have a right to appeal. Exhaust all your options of appeal. But the truth is that under criminal prosecution, if the arrow of guilt keeps pointing to one direction, at every point in time, keep pointing to one direction unequivocally, it is probable that, you know, that particular arrow is setting an agenda for the truth. If you eliminate all impossibilities, we're told, whatever is left, however improbable, must be the truth. Okay. So the pastor on that reference will have to disprove all the allegations and come out clean by evidence.
no.
Because at the court level, there's nothing like church does not work in the court. It's not church does not work in the court. What works in the court is evidence. Okay, and the sacredness of the evidence before the court is what the court will use to inculpate or exculpate the defendant in the case on that reference.
Now, similar cases we've had in Lagos. I think it's very important at this point for us to draw a very clear-cut difference between pedophilia and this sort of case.
Yes.
The previous cases we've had were cases of pedophilia. Now, this is a case of rape, and the victim happens to be the assistant pastor. Now, isn't it possible for the pastor to say it's consensual and proves it? Because since it's not...
it is possible for a pastor to say it's consensual, but you know, rape is not strictly at the oral evidence of the victim or the defendant. or the complainant. After rape has occurred, there's what they call medical report, medical examination. You cannot find a rape case in our court without medical examination.
Oh, okay.
But medical evidence is required. Okay. So you can say, oh, it was consensual, but we know that consensual rape, we know that consensual sex does not come with bruises.
Oh, okay.
It does not come with the vaginal wall being reddened or bruising. It does not come with force of that kind. Lack of consent is what leads to the wounds and the injury and the struggles and the vaginal wall is ruptured as a result of force. Okay, so when that happens, it points to the fact that medical examination will reveal that. When you go to Mirabel Center, you know, it is true that even after 3 months, a lady is raped. Medical evidence can still infer that there was forceful penetration. Section 354 of the Criminal Code says that where a man have carnal knowledge of a woman without her consent, or with her consent, when such consent is procured by fraud, intimidation, duress, it is still rape. You understand? It is when you obtain her consent by force that you have all those wounds and struggle and address and ruptures. But you can also have rape when her consent is obtained by deception.
Even if it's consensual?
Yes. Even if it's consensual, but if it's obtained by deception. For example, you impersonated the husband. So the defendant got into the apartment, okay, by whether voodoo or whatever, took the husband away, you know, disguised as the husband and had sex with her, and she gave her consent, okay. That is consent obtained by deception. You can also have consent obtained by duress. You threaten her that you will take her life or you will whatever it is, and she yielded. Okay? You can also have rape where she consented, she agreed. And in the middle of a sensual intercourse, she changed her mind and said stop. The moment she says stop and you continue, from that point you continue. Before the point she says stop, it was consensual. But as at the point you continued, it's now rape.
But how can the court prove that?
It can be proven. It can be proven by examination, cross-examination and re-examination.
Oh, okay.
It can be proven. Now, it is however not rape where the woman had sexual intercourse with the man. She lubricated and she never resisted all through to the end. Now, she cannot, by virtue of the fact that possibly she was not well remunerated or paid, and then bring an action for rape. That's an afterthought.
Oh, okay.
Yes. That's an afterthought. Assume but not considering the sex was transactional. After the action.
So a sex worker in all of this then?
Yeah, the reason is a sex worker can still bring an action for rape where she's forced.
Oh, okay.
The fact that she's a sex worker does not mean she's not a human being, does not have rights and privileges. In fact, her job as prostitution is not an offense under our law in the southern part of Nigeria.
Okay.
It's not an offense. So rape is dynamic. Okay. So for the court to convict the man under reference, there are evidence and proof. The court will not convict without evidence. Otherwise, it will be upon on appeal. Okay, so let him go on appeal and exhaust all his options of appeal. Then he can disprove whatever he wants to disprove over there. But as we speak, you see, rape is an heinous offense. Rape is life imprisonment. Now, a lot of the persons who exploit this criminality don't even know the penalty until they are behind bars. It's life imprisonment. In not just in Nigeria, in many jurisdictions of the world. At we say you made an attempt. There was no penetration, but it is proven that if you had your way, you would have. It's 14 years imprisonment.
Whoa.
An attempt. Okay. So it is an action, it's an activity that should not be mentioned amongst human, let alone the Christian fold, the church. So you see the level of decadence we have in our society. Our society has broken down in such a way that you find it very difficult to reconcile why people should force others into activities, sexual activities and intercourse.
Truly very unfortunate. Let's move to the Nation newspaper today, and the big story there says 15 escape death in Ibadan air mishap, and the rider there says a private jet overshoots airport runway. NCC suspends Martini Airlines license, and authorities blame brake failure for incident. On the top slip of the same newspaper, we have River Crisis Assembly bars Fubara from appointing local government chairman. And on the right of that same story, we have overrides governor's veto on 4 bills. Abductors demand 200 million naira to free Lagos PDP chair and others. Barrister, let's look at this issue here. You know, you are one. You were one of those analysts that talked about why Fubara why wasn't given or didn't get more than enough advice on what he should do and what he should not have done. And right about now, it's looking like he is in a cul-de-sac right now, because the Rivers, the assembly members are beginning to come at him from all fronts. How do you think Fubara can escape this issue?
He shot himself on the foot. I've said this over and over again, that when lawmakers defect from their political party to another political party, the law is clear as to what should happen to them. Now, as a governor who is supposed to insist on that, got distracted by a mere 8-paragraph agreement, which they used to set the constitution aside, the president being a culprit. Now, Fubara's strength was that technical glitch, that mistake. Those people ran into the arms of law and they were held by the law. Instead of Fubara to insist that they follow through the case that was filed against INEC, apply to join the suit and ensure that that suit is completely extinguished, so that the 27 lawmakers, their seat will be declared vacant by INEC and election be conducted. He went to agree to this agreement. Now those lawmakers are back. They were paid in December. They are fully empowered by Wike and the presidency and all that. They will get back at him. He made further mistake by taking his own man out of the assembly and made him chief of staff. Making him a chief of staff is disempowering him, because he was validly elected with the mandate of the people. Now you took him away, the person who is your backbone in the assembly. Now you just have 2 or 3 loyalists at the assembly. The other 27, they can impeach you anytime, any day. It's so clear. They can do that. And I said that by the time these 27 members are fully integrated in the House, the governor will have no power over. One of the things the court said is that he should not interfere. I mean, the federal court ruled that should not interfere with the activities of the assembly. But that is the law, true. The executive is not supposed to. If not that the legislature at the state level have lost their relevance. They don't even know where they stand in terms of the powers that they are given to them by the Constitution. So right now, Fubara is going to have a long day.
But the question is, the state members, are they for APC or PDP right about now?
It does not matter where they are. At the level of House of Assembly or National Assembly, it's not about party any longer. It's not bastard. That's why we look, the constitution will say the house shall. The house shall. The house shall. Not PDP shall or APC shall. Once you are lawmakers, you are lawmakers. Leave the politics they play. Right now, they have the numbers. If it's about numbers, they are going to cut him to size. Because he fails to, he was talking about peace, that there's no amount that is too much of the price to pay for peace. Now, where is the peace now?
So morally, do you think that is wrong?
It was wrong because in politics, you don't achieve peace by being weak.
So you mean his action of advocating for peace is him being weak?
No, his action for falling into the trap, they made it look like the agreement is to resolve the crisis. But it was not to resolve the crisis. The agreement was to use the assembly to cut him to size, so that Wike can still be controlling the state from Abuja. That's what has happened. Now, the majority of the assembly members have a loyal to Wike. So it gives them instruction. They use their number to execute it against the governor. So he should have seen and known that this agreement, you see, that time that they defected, that was the time he would have, just like it happened in Edo State. Edo State was even more difficult because Edo State the proclamation was made, the been allegation that was made in the night. And so those ones were not inaugurated. And therefore you have just few. And the tenure of the governor elapsed and is almost gone. And those lawmakers were never here. This Rivers, when they voluntarily defected, the Constitution defines what happens. Instead of you to allow the law, if you're on the side of the law, why are you disturbing yourself? Some people say, because he was scared that maybe the court will rule against him in the long run.
Yes, exactly.
And I don't think that is the court is going to rule based on law.
So the question is, as it stands today, if you were his legal advisor, what would be your best advice for him as it stands today, with consideration for the situation he has gotten himself into? What would be your best advice for him?
My legal advice to him is that he should not appoint caretaker, whatever. He should organize elections for the local government.
But
that's what the law says.
Oh, okay.
No, they don't want. Most governors, they appoint a caretaker committee in the place of a local government chairman. They do that. They've been doing that. So he wants to do that now.
But Assembly are buying him from not appointing local government chairman.
No, what I'm saying, they have the power.
They have the power.
Yes.
So how would he overrun their power with your advice?
The only way, what he can do is to ensure that elections organized at the local government, not appoint local government chairman. They appoint caretaker committees. What he's trying to do is to appoint his loyalists at the local government. So you can have people to fall back to in terms of support, so that whatever it is the house is going to come up with, it will have a handful of people who will be with him. You understand that? But that is also is neither here nor there. He has lost his real powers. You understand? He has lost his power because the fact that we are not in good terms with the house means that anything you bring a budget, they will tell you they don't want it this way. They will go and ask Wike what the budget should be. You understand? Whatever we do, they are going to, the loyalty is divided. In fact, there's no loyalty at all on the side. So I said it earlier on, this man do not agree to this thing we call settlement. It's not settlement. They want to clip your wings, and that's exactly what they have done now. He will not be able to appoint those. If he does that, it will be legal.
Very true.
You understand?
All right, so let's move to the Saturday Times newspaper, and the big story there says Lagos Bishop bags life sentence for raping church members, and money laundering. EFCC beams light on churches, betting coins, NGOs. And on the top street of the same newspaper, we have budget accuses Ministry of Works of infraction in spending 9.3 billion naira. And on the bottom slip of the same newspaper, we have Farouk Lawan Reeves as the Supreme Court upholds his 5-year jail term. Former DG BPE sent to prison. Also, a barrister. It seemed to us, that Dave Omahi, purportedly, has been seen as one of the best performing ministers. And right now, a budget is saying that there could be some infraction in him spending 9.3 billion naira. Now, given the success we have observed with Dave Omahi, do you think there could be something that we're not seeing, that a third party is seeing better?
Yeah, the CSO have raised the issue. Okay, the next thing they should do is to send a petition to the EFCC. So the EFCC will investigate. It's an allegation. So if there's an economic crime that have been committed in that ministry by the minister or whoever, it is the investigation of the EFCC that will throw that up. Okay, and if they find enough evidence to that effect, why not? They can prosecute. Okay, so as much as people have eulogized the performance of the minister, it still does not take out the fact that he could be culpable of some infractions too. Okay, so now a particular civil society organization is saying that, wait a minute, there is an issue here, and they are bringing it to the fore. So let the EFCC, let them do the needful, the CSO, take a petition to the EFCC, let the EFCC investigate. So if such infraction is found, then they will do their job. That's what is required.
Okay. So let's lastly move to UK, and this is coming from the Daily Express in the United Kingdom, and the big story there says King chose Kate's Hospital to save taxpayers' money. Barrister, I don't know, but according to Google, the King Charles is worth $2 billion. And he is deciding to go for his prostate, case in a hospital that seemed to be saving money for taxpayers. Do you think this would, move to having our leaders, especially in the developing economy, learn from this? Or do you think this could just be another one of those, cases of big monarchs, trying to play to the gallery to appease his people?
I don't think it's playing to the gallery. In the United Kingdom, they avoid wastages. They're not like African leaders that, we've seen examples and examples over time, but our leaders don't learn anything from it. Mandela was sick at some point. He never left South Africa. Medical care, everything he did in South Africa. Okay. Recently, this issue now, talking about King Charles, okay, a leader must set an example. The hospital under reference can actually take care of that ailment. Okay. And the fact that he's big and rich does not mean he should. Imagine if it was an African leader. We've seen cases where Buhari had ear infection. And one of the trips was at the UK for 90 days with the presidential fleet at Heathrow for 90 days, 3 months, ear infection. This is even a more deadly case. King Charles, prostate.
Yeah, prostate.
You understand? And the resources it's because over there, taxpayers' funds and the resources of the public, what they call public funds, is accounted for. It's accounted for. And if you misapply it or, handle it in a way that is not, veritable, you are going to pay for it. You are going to have sometimes you have to resign and be prosecuted. Sometimes you have to, so there are a lot of things. I know that this will not teach African leaders anything. It will not, because they have that tendency to always want to go to places where they will waste taxpayers' money and then even confront the taxpayers.
Sometimes we've seen House members who use taxpayers' money to buy cars, fleet of cars, and bring it to social media to show the taxpayers that, all your taxes, this is what we are putting it into and all that. So I don't think it's going to teach African leaders anything. It's not going to teach African leaders anything.
All right, that's just about the time we have for our newspaper reviews today. I have to say my big thank you to Barrister Evans Feyi for being part of our show today. Thank you so very much, sir. So when we return, $500,000 bribery. Supreme Court affirms a 5 years jail time for ex-lawmaker Farouk Lawan. More details when we come back. Please don't go anywhere.